And welcome to the Strangely Specific Movie Awards. I'm Drew D'Amelia of Drew and to Review, and with me is my usual co-host, half the time I'd say.
Is it usual?
About half the episodes so far.
Oh, okay, that's cool. I didn't realize that.
Performance review is coming up, so I think you're on mostly the right track. Just don't mess up a single thing today.
Okay, I'll do my very best.
Great.
I'm Nick Padula, by the way.
I was going to say, if you didn't say your name, chopping block.
Okay, phew.
But excellent.
Just made it.
You remember how this works?
Yeah, but remind us for first-time listeners.
Hey, I like that initiative. That's going to get you places.
All right.
I'm acting like this is an important podcast. So, the way this works is we are going to give out 3 awards today based on some strangely specific categories. They're each currently standing at 2 nominees, but Nick has the ability to pick one if he can think of one. I'm not saying you have to, but if you happen to think of another nominee, you can.
It sounds like you're implying I have to.
You don't have to. It would show initiative, and it would look good on your report.
I take your challenge, and I raise you.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to give you an easy category to think of a nominee for.
Okay. Compared to some of the last ones, I could use an easy one.
Yeah. I don't think you're going to have trouble with our first award of the... Oh, but I should point out before we get there, you might notice it sounds a little bit different. We are once again outside. We were outside in the last episode, and we're outside in this episode as well. It is the nighttime. It is pretty nice, although Nick just wiped a bug off of his forehead. Just wanted to illuminate that for you, and I feel just kind of vaguely itchy all over, as if there are mosquitoes on me, but there aren't. Yep, you got it. Good. There's a mosquito on your forehead again.
Yeah.
Here, maybe we'll...
They love me because my blood is so sweet.
We'll put that anti-mosquito candle allegedly closer to you.
Hopefully that'll help.
Get one closer to me, too.
Yeah.
But otherwise, it's very nice.
Uh-huh.
No, I like this. And, you know, we're just trying to be safe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I think it's time that we get to our first award. Are you ready?
I'm as ready as I'll ever be.
Okay, I'm just going to assume that you are. I don't want to do one of those fake things where I'm like, are you sure? You seem ready.
If you say so.
I'm sorry, are you implying I need to do one of those warm-ups?
I don't know.
I can't hear you.
I'm ready. I don't know what we're doing here. I don't know what this bit
Are
is.
you actually ready?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yes.
Anyway, the first award, you're going to like this. It's nice and simple.
Oh, boy.
It's not.
Uh-oh.
Most disturbing consequences to caring about a puppy. All right, before we begin, anything off the top of your head?
Most disturbing consequences to caring about a puppy. Is that correct?
You got it. It seems like there'd be a lot, you know, or at least a fair amount, but I get it. Putting you on the spot, it's just really hard. If I were in your shoes, it'd be tough for me too.
You can just start now. I'll see if I can think anything up.
Okay. John Wick.
Ah, yes.
And Apocalypse Now. Those are the 2 nominees. Now, one of these is probably a little fresher in your memory than the other. So do you want me to recap John Wick for you?
I do watch Apocalypse Now every day when I wake up.
Yeah, I know you do. You always text me about it. I'm like, I've heard these same texts every morning.
This is Apocalypse Now viewing number 587.
Oh, my God. So and that would be you were only doing it for a year and a half, really.
Yeah.
Imagine if you had been consistently doing it for as long as I've known you.
Yeah, that'd be over a decade of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah, it really would be. But, all right, this is a scene. I'm not sure how memorable it is, but I feel that it's memorable. Is that on the hilarious boat journey? You remember that?
Ah, yes, the hilarious boat journey, of course.
There were... Who were they fighting against?
The Viet Cong?
Yeah, I thought so. The Vietnamese. There were some innocent Vietnamese people on the boat, and one of them just kind of calmly went toward the back of the boat, and these trigger-happy buffoons just started shooting up everybody, just all of them. Oh, and it turned out that what she was reaching for was a puppy. She had cared about this puppy, and she was just trying to make sure that it was safe. And he was a very cute little puppy, too.
Did the puppy die?
It's implied the puppy died later. The puppy
Oh.
was alive, and one of the soldiers was like, "You're my new friend." Like, well, you murdered its previous friend.
Also, by befriending someone or something in a war movie, that automatically means it's gonna die.
Yeah, the puppy just kind of became MIA at a certain point.
Okay.
And there's a later on scene where he's going, "Where's the puppy? Where's the puppy?" Just like
sure
that.
it sounded exactly
Yes,
like that.
it did. Now, here's the thing, though. Not only did a lot of people die, but the woman that was reaching for the puppy, she was still alive. And one of the soldiers that was a little bit smarter was like, "All right, let's send her to a medic." But the guy that was kind of in charge of the mission just shot her dead because he had priorities. He didn't want to waste time. I think he had said something like, "Yeah, he's gonna die anyway. I'm tired of the bullshit of shooting these people to near death and then bringing them to a hospital."
Oh man, gotta love those war crimes.
It was one of those voices like, "Let's not hide the truth anymore." I think that was the voice. It's something
I'm
like
sure
that.
in that deadly serious movie they had a goofy Disney sounding character. Well, gosh, let's use flamethrowers on civilians.
Listen, we cannot be the first people to think of Disney meets Apocalypse Now. There's no way that hasn't
I
happened.
mean, to be fair, oh wait, no, that's Full Metal Jacket where they sing the Mickey Mouse song at the end.
Oh,
So that is a Vietnam War connection.
we're in good company with Kubrick.
Yeah.
But all right, enough chitter chatter. John Wick, as I'm sure you remember, the whole movie revolves around the assassin getting revenge because people killed his dog.
Yep.
So, what would you say are the most disturbing consequences in terms of caring about a puppy?
Well, I guess it depends on what disturbing we're talking about, because nothing disturbing happens to John Wick after he loses his dog. He just goes on a insane killing spree.
That's true.
So all the disturbing stuff happens to other people, but in Apocalypse Now, the disturbingness is directly happening to the dog owner.
The one that cares about the dog, at the very
Exactly.
least. But also all the people around her.
Yeah.
So, it is true that there seems to be a little more weight to being the owner and then being killed because of it.
Yeah.
That is disturbing. But either way, in both of these situations, there's mass murder.
Yes.
And so for me, I think the basis is what collection of mass murder disturbs me the most.
I'd say the Vietnam War because it was real.
Honestly, yeah, but here's the thing. It wasn't real. I mean, the Vietnam War was real. Well, even that's debatable.
Whoa, wait a minute, Mr. Conspiracy Theory.
But that specific scene may not have necessarily happened. But because it was based on a real event and the movie really established that it wasn't pulling any punches, it felt like it definitely could have happened.
And it at least took inspiration from real life
Yeah.
war crimes.
I could believe that was a real scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, John Wick is a lot of fun, and it's definitely, I'm not going to say it's a picnic for all the people that die.
No, it's definitely
But-
not. It's hyper exaggerated, so it's easy to get desensitized to all the violence.
And the people that are about to die in John Wick, they can probably just stop and go, "You know what? This is a little ridiculous. I don't think this would happen in real life." And then they get their heads blown off.
And to be fair, all the people he kills, none of them are good people. They're all
That's
bad
true.
guys.
I don't think any true innocent people died, unless innocent people got in the way.
Yeah, as they do.
But yeah, I mean, get in the way, like try to hurt John Wick. If they were just, they had their floaties on and they were trying to get into the pool, John Wick was killing. Actually, I don't know.
There was a pool scene.
I know there was. Did someone with floaties get shot that clearly wasn't posing a threat?
I don't remember, but it's possible.
It does. This does matter. This does matter. But I would assume that for the most part, it was bad people in John Wick dying, and it was a little more removed from reality, as you said.
Yes.
Vietnam War is more horrifying, and honestly, just that scene, the fact that someone could just go to the back of a boat. I get that the Vietnam War is horrifying, that these soldiers are not trained and that they are dumbasses. And the two people that weren't dumbasses were telling them to stop firing.
Yeah.
It's just so disturbing that there could be conditions that would create that kind of murder. Because
Yeah.
it's kind of, I mean, obviously the soldiers are to blame, but you really kind of have to take a step back and go like, well, what conditions made it so these dumb, untrained soldiers would be put in a position where they think it's time to fire on everyone, not just this one person who really wasn't doing that much, but everyone. People that weren't even on the boat, they were on a different boat. So I guess that's the winner, huh?
Yeah.
Congratulations, Apocalypse Now, on your award for the most disturbing consequences to caring about a puppy.
All right, where's Francis Ford Coppola? He's got to accept the award.
That's true. He's busy making another classic.
Apocalypse Now 2?
3.
Oh, yeah.
Did
I
you miss
missed the second one.
Yeah, I mean, you've been watching the first one so often.
I forgot.
Oh, gosh. Why don't we move on to the next award?
Good idea.
I would like us to deliberate what the best Michael Keaton performance as a Birdman is. Can you guess the nominees?
I'm going to say one of them is Birdman.
What is Birdman?
Birdman or the... it's got a much longer title.
The
unexpected virtue of ignorance.
Yeah,
okay,
there
now
it
it comes back to me. Just gotta feed me the first few. And the other is Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yes.
So Michael Keaton as a Birdman. Best examples. Michael Keaton. What else has he been in?
Oh, you're actually trying to think of another. I don't think you're gonna think of one.
If I stretch what the term Birdman means.
I still don't think... I don't know that there's even the broadest definition of Birdman where you're going to find more than 2 nominees.
I mean, birds and bats, they fly, right? They both fly.
Is a bat a bird?
No.
Yeah.
But they both fly.
But it has to be a bird.
All right, but what if there was a bird person featured in a Michael Keaton movie?
But it's best Michael Keaton performance as a Birdman.
Fuck.
I admire your persistence.
So, Batman Returns is not an acceptable answer.
I haven't actually seen that one yet. I want to. I'm going to say no, though.
It's got Danny DeVito as the Penguin, and it's got him as Batman.
Unless Michael Keaton is also Danny DeVito, and we have not figured that out yet, I'm going to say that probably doesn't qualify.
Damn.
How about this? We'll say that you're going to open an investigation into proving Michael Keaton and Danny DeVito are the same person.
And we can revisit this in a future episode.
Yes.
Okay.
But for now, we'll work with what we have. That sounds...
Yeah, I'm going to go deep down the internet rabbit hole to get to the bottom of this to see if Michael Keaton had to study birds to get into the role of Batman.
Okay, that's fair.
That.
I'm still, even if he did, I don't know if it'd qualify.
Yeah, you're right.
Maybe you can prove that Michael Keaton was a bird in... What was that movie where he's a snowman, like Jack Frost?
Jack Frost.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what you have to do. You have to prove that one of Michael Keaton... In Spotlight, who's to say
he wasn't,
part bird?
Exactly.
There you go. That's what you have to do.
There you go.
But for now, this is an interesting choice here. If I'm just going off the bird, well, here's something that's interesting that we have to think about is that what qualifies Michael Keaton as being a Birdman?
To be fair, in both examples, he is not truly the merging of bird and man.
True, but it is a performance as a Birdman.
Yeah. I suppose the argument could be made in Birdman or the virtue...
You could just say Birdman. I'm fine with it.
Fuck. Okay, yeah. Or Birdman. The thing with him is the character of Birdman in the context of the movie can actually fly, and the wings do seem to be an organic part of him. So theoretically, you could say that example is a legitimate combination of bird and man. While with Vulture, it's a robot suit.
That's true. Though I was actually getting at a more interesting line of questioning here.
Oh, okay. Go for it.
Is Michael Keaton still considered the Vulture when he is out of costume?
You mean in the context of real life or in the context of Spider-Man Homecoming?
I guess in the context of this award, really, I mean, we have to deem how broad the performance of Michael Keaton as a Birdman should be counted. So, are we going with Michael Keaton's entire character in these movies, or just the parts where Michael Keaton is at the Birdman?
That is a complicated question.
Because the Vulture is not always acting as the Vulture. In fact, I think some of my favorite scenes, he's not really the Vulture.
Right.
But even when he is acting as the Vulture, he's not always donning the suit. So is he officially a Birdman unless he has the costume on? Like, doesn't he have to have the costume on to officially be a Birdman?
I think you're right there, because out of costume, he's more concerned with his daughter, for example, and he's more concerned with his issues, like with his company that was failing, that was being, I think, bought out by like a corporation.
Yeah, like Tony Stark or something.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate because I really liked his character, Michael Keaton's character in Spider-Man Homecoming, and honestly, I probably liked it more than his character in Birdman, which is crazy to reckon with, and I feel like you might disagree with that.
Birdman's more complex, and it's hard to nail it down because it's more of a psychological comedy, I suppose you could call it.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of putting it.
Because he played a Birdman in the context of Birdman as a superhero film in the movie, and as his mind started to unravel, his Birdman movie persona blended with his real life actor persona. So it started to seem like he was Birdman just as much as he was the human guy. But
oh, wow, that gets really complicated in terms of this award.
it does muddy the waters quite a bit.
So
but also, he was, at the time, before his mind truly unraveled, he was trying to direct a play or act in a play with Edward Norton.
Yeah.
And during that time, he wasn't really Birdman, but the Birdman voice in his head, that very aggressive, gruff voice, you remember that, was always talking to him, kind of helping unravel his mind.
I think we need, for the sake of this award to work, we need to lock on to a definition of when is Michael Keaton in the Birdman movie considered to be a Birdman. And I guess for me, off the top of my head, I would say the scene where he's literally the Birdman in costume, and also as the voice. Now, there's an argument to be made that, well, it's a voice, but we don't see the Birdman as a really Birdman. I'm going to say, using deduction, that we can assume that voice is behind Michael Keaton Performance as a Birdman.
Yeah, it is Michael Keaton's voice, so he is doing at least the voice of Birdman, so he is in character as a Birdman.
And we know, based on the scene that comes later in the movie, that that is the voice of the character that Michael Keaton is playing that is a Birdman.
Yeah.
So, all right, it sounds like we're locked into knowing what we are defining as Michael Keaton's performance as a Birdman in both movies.
Yeah.
So those Birdmen alone, which is the best? Now, what's unfortunate for me is my favorite parts of Spider-Man Homecoming, in terms of that character, he doesn't have that costume on. I can think of a few good moments I really like, but like that car scene is so good, and he doesn't have the costume on. So many good scenes that he doesn't have the costume on. So, but then again, I'm thinking about Birdman, and Michael Keaton's character is great, but the performance of Birdman itself, it's not quite as special to me as Michael Keaton as a non-Birdman.
Right. It's more just the devil on your shoulder kind of telling him he should do all these crazy things. Like, you're a burnt-out old man. You got to do something crazy like you used to do when you were Birdman.
Yeah. And clearly in one movie it's a bit more significant.
Yeah.
Probably the one called Birdman.
Possibly. But there's not a Birdman on screen, so it has to be questioned. Is it more valuable to have the Birdman on screen or just the Birdman's presence felt?
I mean, I do think the Birdman's presence is probably felt a little bit more in Birdman than it is in Spider-Man Homecoming.
Hmm.
But I gotta say, even though it was probably more important in Birdman, I think I gravitated more to the Birdman in Spider-Man Homecoming, and maybe that's because I'm not reading into Birdman deep enough, the movie Birdman, not the concept. But I thought even though some of my favorite parts of the Vulture were out of costume, the Vulture costume itself is pretty cool, and it's pretty fun to watch. It is engaging, and I'm not saying it's not fun to watch Birdman and Birdman, but I don't know that I get the same rush.
Oh, another thing I thought of when Michael Keaton in Spider-Man is in the Vulture costume. I don't know if that technically counts because that's often not Michael Keaton, but CGI.
Oh, no. Well, hold on, though. Is it also CGI in Birdman?
Yes.
So
it's CGI or voiceover.
So is there really any Michael Keaton performance as a Birdman?
His voiceover.
I guess. And I have to imagine he was actually in the costume at some point.
Yeah. In either movie, to be fair, there were scenes where he was in the Birdman costume.
It's hard for us to know. I guess that's true. CGI does not count. Well, should it though? I mean, Michael Keaton is lending his voice at the very least to these performances, and we say that the voice counts in Birdman.
Right, so it'll count in Spider-Man.
Yeah, so I guess the CG shouldn't even matter.
But they're tied then, if that's the case.
Well, in terms of being a Birdman, I would say they're tied.
Yes, that's what I mean.
We have to figure out in terms of being the best. I don't know, what are you thinking?
I think it comes down to performance and I guess the context of the movie.
For me, I had the most fun with the Spider-Man Homecoming Birdman, and that's the one that I would come back to more. So for me, that's best. But I have a feeling for you, it's different.
Well, if I remove my bias, because Birdman is one of my favorite movies of all time, and I don't want to just say Birdman off the top of my head. I want to give this some serious analytical thought.
Which is fair.
Yeah. So, I guess, I don't know, if the CGI character's movements are modeled after Michael Keaton's movements, then in a way, his presence could be felt. But we don't know for sure if it's modeled after his movements or just a randomly programmed CGI person.
That's true. In both movies you're talking about?
No, I'm talking as Vulture specifically because...
True. Though it could be the same for Birdman as well, right?
Though it's much less in Birdman. I think you see him in the Birdman costume maybe once or twice in the whole movie, while with Spider-Man it's a lot more frequent.
That's true, but the same principle still applies, that it is a diminished Michael Keaton Birdman performance.
But also, another thing I wasn't thinking of is there are times where Michael Keaton is not CGI in the Vulture costume. When he's not flying, when he's on the ground in the costume.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible he could be, but it's pretty doubtful when he's just, like, standing in a plane looking at things.
Right.
I imagine he was actually there in costume.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there are set photographs showing him in a costume.
Right.
So,
and same could be said again for Birdman. He was...
Yeah.
Seemed like he was physically there.
Yeah. So maybe it sounds like the same thing can apply for both movies, so it's probably not going to help us make a decision.
No, it seems like a coin flip between like which movie we preferred, which I don't want it to be. I want it to be more objective than that, but I'm not sure.
Well, we can try to land on a criteria for what we prefer. Do you want to go by context? Do you want to go by satisfaction?
I think, to be fair, one thing about the movie Birdman that I would have liked to see more is him in the bird costume.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I loved it, and I loved it as a satire of the theater industry, but I did want to see him going crazy in the Birdman costume and persona.
Did you feel that you got an adequate portion of Michael Keaton as a Birdman in Spider-Man Homecoming?
I'd say yes.
So maybe that's
What
a
we
good
decided
criteria to go with. Now, I know
Satisfaction with the Birdman himself and not the movie.
Yeah, this is not to say that the movie is worse.
Yeah.
That's not what you're saying.
Right. Or
by
the
vo-
performance. I'm not saying
Yes.
either.
In fact, if we had to go by the non-Birdman performance, I would still probably.
You do like that Vulture performance.
But yes, that. But I would maybe I could vote for Birdman because I absolutely see the value in it.
Yeah.
Maybe if I watched them both back to back, I would go. I think Birdman gets this point for me. But not the Birdman man.
Right,
the
performance.
Birdman, not the Birdman.
Yeah.
So,
the Birdman.
have we landed on awarding this to?
I think I can comfortably say the Vulture.
All right, so Spider-Man Homecoming, congratulations. Wow, we got one more award.
Okay.
And we're going to see how easy this winds up being. The third award is Best Naked Fight Scene. Our nominees are Borat.
Of course. Again, exactly the one I was thinking.
Yup. And Revenge.
Ooh.
Right?
Oh, wow. Naked fight scenes. I know. I know there's a naked fight
There's
scene.
gotta be
out
more
there.
naked. Yep. I know what you mean. But do you have the patience to think of one?
Are we counting animals?
Well, arguably, can animals really be naked if they don't have clothes to wear?
They can be given clothes.
Okay, so if you can think of a movie where animals had clothes on and removed them and then fought, then
No, they're usually already clothless. I was going to say The Lion King.
if you could prove Simba had a suit on at some point in the
A
movie.
four-piece suit. And then he rips it off just to fight Scar.
See, someone can animate suits over.
They should have put that in the new
Simba.
Lion King movie. It was
Yeah,
a missed
they
opportunity to
should've.
clothe them.
Especially with the realism they were going for.
Exactly. It'd be more realistic if they had clothes on.
Thank you. Someone finally said what needed to be said.
Absolutely. I feel like, no, Fight Club, they were just shirtless.
Yeah. It's unfortunate.
Oh, man, I don't want to have the first one where I didn't contribute anything.
Hey, that's okay. I don't think I could think of another naked fight scene either. Maybe they're getting harder and harder, Nick.
Yeah, you're really not making this easy at all. This is the hardest one yet.
Why don't we jump into it? And if you maybe it'll jog your memory, and if not, you're fired.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. I'll allow it.
Cool. This is interesting because contextually they're both very, very different.
Yeah, I'd say that.
But also, I think they both accomplish exactly what they wanted to a T.
Mm-hmm.
One was meant to just... They both showcased a different side of nudity. One showcased the sort of disgusting nature of nudity and how absurd and stupid it is.
Yeah.
And it was great. It was very funny to watch just two subjectively, conventionally unattractive men rubbing their nudity against each other in an aggressive way and then taking it into public.
Yeah.
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
And a movie that is kind of not something I'd say holds up super well in these times. I think that scene is still very funny and not something that is generally offensive outside of they're naked.
Sure.
Which is great. It's was and continues to be my favorite scene in Borat.
Yeah.
In Revenge, however, the nudity, I think, was supposed to represent just a real carnal side of humanity.
Mm-hmm.
Like humanity before they had clothes. And I think that worked extremely well, too. I found that to be a very tense scene. And
It's
Nick,
very gruesome.
yeah, you've seen both movies.
Yeah.
It's It's really tough.
You really pick like polar opposites.
I did. But I will say this. In Borat, they were both naked.
Yeah.
In Revenge, only one of them was naked. The
I
other
thought they
one,
were both naked.
She was never quite naked. Didn't have on many clothes, but you can't say she was naked.
Okay. Gotcha.
I would still call it a naked fight scene because the category doesn't specify they both have to be naked.
Fair.
But I do think that it's an asset if they are both naked. And it's tough because I loved the ending of Revenge. It was so good. It was so effective.
Very cathartic.
And it's really tough to kind of pit comedy and drama together like that.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you feel an instinct you want to give it to the drama, but comedy is also super valuable. And they both succeeded so well at what they were going for. But Borat had more nudity, so there was more naked in that fight scene. I don't know. Am I crazy?
No. I thought of something that probably doesn't. No, never mind. I just figured out it doesn't count. I was going to say Sin City, where Bruce Willis shoots a yellow pedophile's junk off.
Is it a fight if the pedophile didn't fight back? Did the pedophile fight back?
He might have tried to. I think his junk was out, but I think he had like an overcoat on. It's been a while since I saw Sin City, so it probably doesn't count.
Was Bruce Willis completely naked?
No. Though at another point in the movie he was.
Did he
that
fight?
doesn't count. He was hung from his ceiling fan.
You didn't answer my question.
He did not.
He's throwing punches while hanging from the ceiling. Are you trying to think of which of these two win, or are you trying to think of a third
I'm
nominee?
still trying to think of a third. I'm still trying
I
to
don't
pull
blame
it
you.
out.
I don't blame you.
But in the context of Revenge versus Borat, what would I go with? I do love that Borat scene, and it's hard to shake like the entertainment value over like the drama, because I'm always pulling towards comedy because it does more to make me feel better. While
That's true.
Revenge is very dark.
It's not going to make you feel better.
No. Until the end where the revenge happens. And then even then, you're not fully satisfied because that's not the point of a revenge
It's
movie.
bleak.
Yes. So it was best nude fight scene?
Best naked fight scene.
Okay, so are we going... Is one of the criteria choreography, like fight choreography?
Well, it certainly can be. I mean, that is a part of a good fight.
I think with Borat, it seemed largely improvised, but in a way that made it funnier, because if it was choreographed, it would have taken the natural weirdness out of it.
Although I would argue that Borat probably had more to the actual fight component. There were a lot of different ways in which they fought, and it went into a lot of not too many locations, but at least 2 distinct locations.
Yeah.
Or in Revenge, it was really
Limited to the...
like 4 hallways, and most of it was just a cat and mouse game.
And wasn't the guy slipping around in his own blood?
He was.
Okay.
I'm not saying that to make the Revenge fight seem bad, because it was great.
Yeah.
I loved it. And that's what's tough, is I love both of these scenes, but
Yeah.
Borat, you have them 69ing each other at a certain point. You have them being thrown into furniture.
Yeah.
You have a dildo at one point that's used.
Yep.
And then it moves from a hotel room, and there's tackling, and people are being picked up.
There's an elevator.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, there's a respite in the middle of the fight, and it really builds tension. So, you have helped illuminate that Borat is the most naked and the most fight.
It does fulfill both of those criteria quite nicely.
So it would probably follow that it's the best.
I think you might be right.
It's tough to say one of these is a loser, but one of them has to be a loser.
Yeah.
And I think it feels right to give Borat the award on this one.
Yeah. I think so too.
All right. I'm sorry you didn't think of a naked fight scene, but
No, I'm gonna think of it as soon as we stop recording, as I always do.
it's fine. You have the burden here, and I just get to watch you suffer.
And you seem to be enjoying that quite a bit.
That's true. And hopefully our listeners enjoyed listening to Nick suffer as much as I have. Thank you very much for joining us for another episode of the Strangely Specific Movie Awards, and thank you especially for your donation to Drew and Review. I appreciate it very much. And Nick, do you appreciate it?
Sure, but not as much.
That's a fair answer. You know what? You're still on. You get to come
Yes.
back in every other episode in an episode from now.
Thanks, boss.
That's how we're working that out.
Thanks, boss.
Does that sound agreeable?
Thanks, boss.
You're welcome, boss.
Thanks, boss.
You're welcome, boss.
Thanks, boss.
Hey, boss.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, boss.